Look, there is a hidden architecture to modern wealth. While the masses are completely distracted, a quiet, massive shift is happening, literally right under our noses. By 2026, a new wave of Americans are secretly becoming millionaires. And no, it's not through lottery tickets or blind luck. They are exploiting calculated, structural mechanisms that the traditional financial system completely ignores. Today, we're unpacking the source material in this explainer to reveal exactly how they're doing it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine a guy named Jake. He's incredibly ambitious, working exhausting double shifts just to pay for college, coming from a super humble background. He's looking for a mentor, right? So he asks an older, successful-looking guy, let's just call him Mr. Grumpy, for some advice. And what does Jake get? He gets hit with this exact quote. It's an unbelievably frustrating, wildly outdated stereotype that completely dismisses the intense, very real pressure that ambitious young people are facing today.
Because the truth is, the world has fundamentally shifted. The old path to success used to be so straightforward. You go to school, you get a safe corporate job, you keep your head down for 40 years, and boom, you retire. But today's reality, it is infinitely more complex. Ambitious young people are juggling skyrocketing living costs, multiple side gigs, and insane technological shifts. So if you're feeling that struggle right now, let me tell you, your frustration is entirely justified. The game is totally changed, which means you desperately need a new playbook.
And we are opening up that exact playbook today. We're extracting 6 actionable principles from self-made fortunes, debunking the lazy youth myth, mastering high-income skills, investing and trusting time, leveraging risk, constantly updating your brain, and finally upgrading your inner circle.
Starting with Principle 1, the lazy youth myth. It's time for validation over stereotypes.
Let's just make this official right off the bat. The idea that this generation is somehow uniquely lazy is officially debunked by the data. The actual reality is that for the first 2 decades of your life, the traditional school system force-feeds you completely outdated information. You spend weeks learning Pythagoras' theorem, but you're taught absolutely nothing about building credit, managing cash flow, or leveraging AI. You aren't lazy. The system just left you totally unprepared for the real world. You just need to acquire a modern financial toolkit.
Which brings us perfectly to Principle 2, master high-income skills, or as we like to call it, sharpening the axe before swinging. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it frames preparation. A lot of ambitious people try to jump straight into starting a massive, complicated business. But doing that without foundational skills, it's literally like trying to cut down a massive oak tree with a completely blunt axe. You have to sharpen the blade first. A high-income skill isn't just a fancy job title. It is a high-demand, specialized capability that generates immense value. And more importantly, it provides unparalleled access to highly successful people and elite networking doors. The absolutely fascinating part here is that you don't need a 4-year degree for any of this. The modern economy runs strictly on supply and demand. We're talking about video editing for massive creators, persuasive copywriting, high-ticket closing, software development, and AI-driven side hustles. These are the sharp tools used by the modern wealthy. And I want to hit you with the sheer power behind mastering these tools. $10,000. Mastering just 1 or 2 of these in-demand skills can realistically generate 10 grand a month within a single year. Look at Mark Tilbury's own son, Curtis. He did exactly this right out of school by mastering videography. It's a simple equation. You acquire the skill, you secure the cash flow.
Moving on to Principle 3, invest and trust time, the unbelievable power of the compounding effect.
Look, once you start making real money, you have to know how to actually keep it. Think of your money like a fresh stack of warm cookies. The more you handle them, the more you touch them to trade or buy flashy things, the more they crumble away into nothing. True investing is a marathon, not a sprint. By extending your time horizon, you completely eliminate the temptation to jump in and out of bad emotional trades. You put the money in, you lock it away, and you let time do all the heavy lifting.
You have to lock your wealth away in assets where it can multiply in peace. Now that could be real estate, luxury physical assets like high-end watches, or even gold. But the absolute most accessible, highly highlighted vehicle for ordinary people to build extraordinary, quiet wealth, that's the stock market.
And this brilliantly illustrates why. 10.98%. That is the historic average annual return of the S&P 500 index fund over the last decade. This single number proves that compounding growth isn't just some fairy tale reserved for Wall Street insiders. It is a mathematical reality that's highly accessible to anybody with a smartphone and a little bit of discipline.
So let's put a hard, undeniable number on that concept. By simply investing $250 a month, which is literally less than an average car payment, at a conservative 10% return rate, the magic of compound interest yields over $1.5 million in 40 years. That is exactly what happens when you make time your hardest working employee.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Principle 4. Leverage your risk. Using time is an unfair advantage.
You know what stops most ambitious young people dead in their tracks? A completely paralyzing fear of failure and a dread of what other people might think. But contrast these two strategies. Older generations absolutely must protect their wealth with low-risk, safe assets because their time horizon is short. But if you're young, you have the ultimate unfair advantage: decades of time. That means your risk tolerance should be incredibly high. You can take calculated risks because failure isn't the end of the world. It's just simple testing and data collection for your inevitable success.
Principle 5. Keep updating your brain. It's time to escape Mountain Stupid.
The traditional Western education model dangerously conditions people to believe that learning is completely finished the moment you hit your 20s. But if you stop learning, your wealth-building engine completely stalls out. This brings us to the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's that massive initial spike in pure arrogance when you learn just a tiny bit about a subject and suddenly think you're a market genius. A quick warning: do not get stranded on Mount Stupid out of arrogance. Wealth building is a continuously learnable skill, not luck, and the market will humble you incredibly fast if you think you know it all.
You have to start treating your brain like a high-performance machine that requires continuous software updates. Step 1. Clear out the outdated knowledge. Delete those financial viruses that your well-meaning but broke relatives taught you. Step 2. Aggressively absorb current data via modern platforms. And Step 3. Stay hungry, stay humble, and learn directly from the people who are already miles ahead of you. This is the exact process for spotting massive market opportunities early, way before the rest of the world even catches on.
So, the crucial point is really driven home in Principle 6. Upgrade your inner circle. Proximity to wealth.
An absolutely fascinating 2024 study from the National Bureau of Economic Research looked at the dramatic, measurable impact of your social circle. The data is staggering. For every 10% increase in wealthy friends you have, you see a 3% greater chance of stock market participation and a 5% increased chance of saving money. Why does this happen? Because proximity completely demystifies wealth. It translates intimidating, complex financial jargon into plain, everyday English. Good financial habits literally rub off on you.
Look, the architecture of modern wealth is not some heavily guarded secret. It is a highly calculated blueprint that anyone can follow. You have the time, you have the roadmap, and the tools have literally never been more accessible than they are right now. The game is entirely yours to win. So the only question left to ask yourself as we wrap up this explainer is this: which high-income skill are you going to start learning today to break the cycle and become the absolute first millionaire in your family?